Hello. All right, so Health Coach Tuesday. It's still Mental Health Month. And one problem that I think a lot of us have, I know I would have it, and I have to keep checking myself about this. But say you were in a bad relationship and or you've had a case of bad relationships in the past that have scarred you. So whenever you get into a new relationship, you may feel as though some of those patterns may be repeating. And so it may keep you afraid to move forward or to take that next step in a relationship, even though this new person may not show signs of the things that of the personality that the ex have. So say the ex was a cheater, alcoholic or something. Although your new spouse does not cheat or doesn't drink, whenever they say go out and enjoy themselves and maybe have one or two drinks, you maybe get defensive or maybe want to lash out to them. I just say this all to say that sometimes we make stories to protect ourselves during certain instances. So say from those past relationships, you tell yourself that if you see your spouse going out and drinking, then you correlate that with that person being bad. So two different instances, two different relationships, but sometimes we are unable to make that connection of that, hey, this is a totally different scenario. Some of the elements in the stories are similar, but overall they're not the same. And we may end up hurting relationships or putting a strain on relationships because we are unable to make that connection, if that makes sense. So, this is why mindfulness is always helpful, to where you just stop and you take time to think and say like, hey, what is really going on in this situation? You have to really ask yourself, is this true? Is my belief true, or am I reliving old past horror stories? Because we really limit ourselves when we choose to behave in certain ways. And it's not just relationships. Say financial people with financial issues, like, hey, I can't seem to stop spending whenever a sale comes on, even though I only have money for bills. You have to, and maybe that correlation could be because you grew up in poverty, so whenever there's a sale, you feel obligated to capitalize on it. Otherwise, you may feel like you'll lose out on something. There's just a bunch of psychological things that goes on in people's minds. And health-related, health coach, there we go. But health-related, you could say that you don't like to eat certain foods because when you were younger, your parents always ate that food and you don't really like it anymore. So you always correlate that food with certain poverty. So you may look at certain people a different way if you see them eating those foods or something. I don't know. This goes on. I just say this all to say, be sure to always second guess your assumptions, especially if they're negative about somebody else. And especially if it's in a relationship that you want to preserve. Sometimes you may be right about your assumptions, but it can be the case, sometimes not. But if it's not the case, then you really have to check and see if there's something traumatic that has happened that is affecting you. So, I don't know. Hope this helps. Happy Tuesday.